Alan, thank you very much for having the interview with me. I'd like to ask you about your background first.
It's a long time for me in automotive manufacture. I'm now 36 years involved in making cars. So I started with Ford until my mid-20s, and then moved to Toyota. I was fortunate enough to join Toyota in the UK, Toyota UK. But actually, when we started in the UK, there was no factory. So they sent us to Japan for 1 year. So I worked in Tatsumi plant in Takaoka, Kyushu plant, Motomachi plant, and spent one complete year in Japan, which was probably my foundation in lean manufacturing, many different aspects of how to build a car. My previous experience had all been high volume with Ford, very cost driven, but maybe not so much process driven. So it was a very different experience for me with Toyota. And I really kind of came back home after a long time on the road and spent until 2005 working in the UK for General Motors. And I think very quickly McLaren settled on the concept that a McLaren car built by McLaren was actually the natural state of things. And it's a very small step from there to a McLaren built by McLaren at McLaren is almost perfect. So again, the conversation moved to McLaren built by McLaren and McLaren, but we would need a new factory. So that was one thing that I learned. I think the other thing that moved right the way through my time with Toyota was quite simply how simple it is. It's common sense. It's not a very complex system. It is very easy to understand if you open your mind. Yeah, you don't have to be a scientist. You just have to have common sense, good communication skills, and be true to the principles. And then you can start to adopt the philosophies. For me, it really doesn't matter how rich a person is. They've worked hard for their money, and they have a right to deserve a quality product and to enjoy their product. However extreme the vehicle is or however extreme the product is, they've earned a right to own that, and they've earned a right to enjoy it. So everything that we do should be right first time, and we should maximize the customer enjoyment. The car, the 12C itself, is an amazing vehicle to drive. And again, it operates on many different levels. It's a very comfortable car, and yet very simply, it can become an amazing car on a track. And it's a car that you need to live with. You can't just sit in it and instantly get something from it. You need to live with the car for a few days, and then you'll really understand how many different levels this car works on.
The last group I worked with was the Fiat group. Yeah. My luck was I could design Ferraris. For me, I grew up with Ferrari inside, and it was the first car I saw. March 19, 1969, I remember the day. I was walking with my father in Casablanca, Morocco, and I stopped. I saw a red Ferrari. I didn't know what kind of Ferrari, but it was red, I remember, and I didn't want to leave. My father said, okay, look, and maybe half an hour later he said, okay, it's time to go, and I just didn't want to leave. I started to cry, and now I know it was the Dino, the 246 Dino, and but this was the first car I felt inside of me, like, how can something mechanical be so beautiful? It's a beautiful shape, and when you hear it, you get a lot of the emotional vibrations inside of you. So I loved Ferrari, and since I was a young boy, later I wanted to become a car designer, and then after some different designs and different companies, I finally reached. I wasn't aiming for Ferrari, but it happened. And I was able to start work with Ferrari as the design director, first design director ever for Ferrari. My job there was to represent Ferrari, their design interest, because up to then, their designers were Pininfarina for Ferrari and Giugiaro for Maserati. So my job was then to become the voice of Ferrari, to say, we like it, we don't like it, change this, change that. And it was a very big challenge for me because I was still very young, and I thought, oof, how do you tell Giorgetto Giugiaro to change something? Interesting beginning for me in Ferrari and Maserati. I loved it. I think we gained respect for each other. And yeah, it worked out very good in the end, and I was able to contribute very heavily to the different designs that we made. I designed on the F430, on the FXX, which is the Super Enzo, that Ken Okuyama did the Enzo. And then I worked on the Super Enzo, and parallel to that I worked on the Maserati Grand Sport and also the Maserati MC12, which is the Enzo from Maserati. I did the race car, also the road car.
Do you think, is there any difference between Italian passion and the British passions?
Characteristics of the Italian people is they wear the passion on the outside. You can see it the way they dress or the way they speak. The voices go very high, very low, very high. When they dress, it's okay to wear Versace for breakfast, you know? They can wear clothes like we wear in the evenings for a special party. They wear them every day, you know? It's normal. They make a big statement like that. If you look at Ferraris, for example, if you have to wash the Ferrari, you want to wash it by yourself and you want to spend 4 hours washing the car because it feels very nice. Very sensual almost. The passion is there. It's different type of vehicle design, of course. The Italians have a lot of flair. We call it flair and flash and dare, and then also good technology. The Englishman, of course, is more subtle, more proper. They say, you know, it's more correct, so to speak, more still a strong figure, but a lot of it is inside the head.
What is your concept of designing of these factories for sports car?
Most of all, it's to design the car, and I know it sounds a little bit funny, but you always look for a little bit of inspiration. I think the McLarens have to look very slick, very stylish, and very smart, very intelligent. Which is not to say the other companies don't do this also, but I think it's almost like a James Bond character where he's very, very proper in all the situations. And what's important for McLaren, of course, because we have racing car history, is to look very athletic, very strong, very not fat. If we compare anything, I like to use examples from biology. If you look at any organism or animal or bird or whatever in the world, they're designed to do just that. In fact, they're not designed. They're just products of evolution. Nobody sits down and draws the next animal or horse, but hundreds of thousands of years of evolution, and slowly the shape becomes more purposeful, more adapted to the needs. And currently this design of this animal is the best it can possibly be for what it does. If you look at cheetahs, why they are fast, it has a lot to do with the type of body they have, the muscles, the leanness, no fat, least possible weight, aggressive way they're running, balance, proportions, and all these things. And they're beautiful. Nobody says these animals are not beautiful. They're extremely beautiful. So I think McLaren's more than looking stylish or trendy. I think they have to look more fit for purpose, designed to do exactly the performance they have to do. No flish, flash, knick-knack, glitch, gitch, or whatever you call it, bling. We tried to make the cars very pure, very honest, and you see the car, you understand what it does, and everything that is there has a reason for why we make it like that. Not to be beautiful so much, but to be effective.
What is about McLaren's very special?
But there are many examples on this car. The front of the car, for example, where the wind comes around the A-pillars, there is a lot of noise, a lot of confusion in the wind. So that area has to be very tightly controlled for making the noise, the wind come around gently or smoothly, quietly, effectively and efficient. We have a lot of little styling tricks on the mirror that are able to make the sound a lot less and to straighten the wind. Because our radiators are pushed inside the car. They're not outside facing the wind. We have on the back of the car, for example, what looks like a spoiler, but is not a spoiler. It's an air brake. Anytime you are going certain speeds or high speeds and you brake, this wing on the back goes 90 degrees vertical. It's not to slow the car down like a brake in the air. What it does is it pushes the back end of the car down, so that the balance of the car goes more back to the rear, so you can apply more brake to the rear. And we use the hydraulics of the gearbox to make the air brake start to go up.
The semi-active suspension system, right?
Yeah, but only to start actually it doesn't start it to go up, it releases the pressure so that the spoiler can begin to go up by itself. Then the wind pushes it, and then it goes immediately vertical and stays that way until the pressure releases, and then it comes back down by itself. So we can make very light structures to do this. We don't have to push it into the wind. The wind actually moves the air brake vertical. When it slows down enough, it goes back down by itself. So very, very lightweight structure. Minimal weight. Especially from racing technology, we control mostly the air underneath the car, not so much on the top, but more underneath. That's very important for what we call downforce. If you can increase dramatically and very suddenly the space of the air as it goes back underneath the car, then you can create more downforce for the car to feel very stable. That's why we have the diffuser on the back of the car. It opens up very suddenly towards the back, and you have a lot of the wind expanding, and it changes the air pressure and sucks the car to the road. And that is also part of the reason why the exhaust pipe on the back of the car is so high. If you put the exhaust pipe down below where everybody puts it, then it can destroy the airflow, so it's not so smooth. And also, if you put it down below, the exhaust pipes are very much like spaghetti. They go everywhere, and that's weight. So we found the best, most direct position for the exhaust pipes to be straight back from the engine, so it's less weight for the tubes. Interesting thing about the 12C is that even though we make it so simple, we have all the content, electronic content of a 7 Series BMW or S-Class Mercedes, this equivalent amount, just that we don't let you see it at all the time. You have access to it right here on the display. And there's so much information that you don't need to know. It doesn't make sense to fill the car with buttons and gauges and things. You don't need this information. It's distracting. It's not safe, I think. If you need it, okay, you ask for it, or if it's a dangerous situation, the car can communicate it to you, but you don't want to have, yeah, I think, the secret of the iPod is that it's so simple. It does everything, many things, but it doesn't have a lot of buttons and complicates the usability.
What is your favorite color of sports car?
My favorite color, that's a difficult question because in the middle of the project we had to begin thinking about what colors we would do the car in. And of course the financial people want to limit how many colors for costs. The designers want to have infinity, any number of colors. The customer wants to be able to choose the color that matches the same purse or the shoes or the lipstick of his wife, So you have many choices of colors, but what we basically do with the colors is we chose, we evaluated first what the colors from the competition at our level offer, what types of colors their customers like to choose from. In McLaren we have three very special colors that I think are very special. One is, of course, the historic McLaren orange, which is the solid orange. We call it Can-Am or historic orange. It's the color of our race cars from the 60s and the 70s mostly. We have another color that we developed especially for the launch of the 12C, which is volcanic orange. And this color is a modern interpretation of orange. It's metallic, the launch color, we chose it because it has the historic value of orange, but it's in a modern way.